Daliso Chaponda.
Thank you so much. I am Daliso Chaponda. I am a foreigner. I am from Malawi in Central Africa. It is one of the British Commonwealth, minus the wealth. And it's funny when you're African, people make a lot of strange assumptions. And it's not even from malice. I had a woman who was clearly a fan approach me after a show. She was a posh lady in Oxford. And she was like, oh, you're so funny. You're so funny. It's so inspiring. I love you so much. It's so inspiring. You've come so far. It's so inspiring how you came from nothing. And I was like, what is this woman on about? And the more she spoke, I realized what had happened. She grabbed hold of the fact that I'm from Africa and just started telling herself stories, imagining I grew up in some refugee camp or something like that. This woman had watched way too many charity ads. She kept saying, how do you speak such good English? You've come so far. And yes, Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the world, but I wasn't. We had a Volvo. And I actually felt bad letting her know that I grew up privileged because she had been so excited. She thought she was talking to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I had to let her know she was actually talking to Carlton. Because I am not that African. I don't have that Oliver Twist background. I never grew up in a village and changed my life. I never needed to because that was my mom. My mom grew up in a village, got a scholarship, became a doctor, right? I never had to do that because that was my dad. He grew up in a village, got a scholarship, became a lawyer. It's amazing. I'm so proud of them, but it's a lot of pressure. I do speak good English because I went to posh British schools in Africa, like Hogwarts, Africa. But when I look back at it, the curriculum didn't make sense. My primary school was in Kenya, very posh school, but I was in Kenya, surrounded by Kenyans. There is a Kenyan language, Swahili, Hakuna Matata. Disney did not make that up. It never came up once in my schools. They taught me English, French, Latin. Latin is a dead language. I'm a bow, I'm a bus, I'm a bat. It's a waste of time. My crazy school thought there's more chance I'm gonna run into the ghost of Julius Caesar than another living, breathing African. And history class. I was in Africa, on African soil. You'd think maybe I'd learn about Nelson Mandela, learn about the Mau Mau rebels. No, Henry VIII. William the Conqueror. I just accepted it because I was a kid. But as I grew older, I realized in loads of subtle ways, my school was telling me that my culture was horrible and yours was awesome. And then I moved to the UK and I heard people say, why do all these immigrants come here? You prepared me perfectly. But I will say this, even though there's some people who aren't welcoming, I find that that's a minority. Most of you could not care less. In fact, I'll go one step further and say most of you hate each other more than foreigners. Streets of Newcastle, someone said to me, you're black, at least you're not from Sunderland. And I do have a big imagination, and having a big imagination is great for being a comedian, not so good for dating. So when you meet somebody on a Monday and you ask them out, you don't go out on a Tuesday. You go out maybe on the Friday. Between Monday and Friday, my imagination goes crazy. I start imagining all sorts of things. I start imagining it works out. Imagine I introduce her to my parents. Imagine we get married. The pressure is on. If on Friday she's like, I don't think we should do this again, I'm like, but hey, what about the kids? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It has been